Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, joined by one of our favorite legislators, one of the most conservative in the state of Idaho, Representative Christy Zito. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
It feels like January or February. That seems like the only time we get together.
I know. Well, we just get busy, and it's no excuse. So we need to do it more often.
You know how it is. Just life happens, as Dave Ramsey says. Life happens.
It does. There's no question.
So yesterday was a big day. All the state laws going into effect. One that you champion, having to, giving folks 18 to 21 the right to conceal and carry without having to get a permit. When that law went into effect, any thoughts since you fought so very hard, you along with others, to make that happen?
I just think it's a good thing, Kevin. It's not the place of government to make criminals out of citizens. And it's, where we travel, we're on the road, people carry open, and then you put on a coat, and now suddenly you're carrying concealed. You drive from one end of the state to the other, and you cross city limits along the way. It was a common sense thing, and so far so good. It's the right of the people.
Sure. Now, before we get into some other things, I've got to ask you: were you at the state convention this weekend?
I was.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was really interesting. I'm a precinct committee person, and I'm our precinct state committee or our county state committee woman, and so I go to the conventions in the winter and the summer meeting. I thought it was really fascinating. I would like to congratulate Raul Labrador for being our new state chairman. I was surprised at how close the vote was. I think it says something for how we need to watch the direction of our party. The platform resolutions and the rules committees did a good job. We had some work done in the redistricting committee as far as recommendations to the legislature. So I think all in all, it was a good convention. It was a good working summer meeting.
Sure. Let's go back to the vote, 111 to 109. Congressman Labrador eking out a victory over a former state school superintendent, Tom Luna. What really, with the turnover in the chairmanship of the state Republican Party for years, we seem to get a new one every 2 years, every 3 years. What type of direction is it going? Because you have folks like yourself, very conservative, liberty-minded, and then you have the establishment folks.
This is true, and that's why I think a vote on something that has a statewide effect is important like that to watch. The very conservative, and I don't know that we're very conservative, but I think Constitution-loving, liberty-loving, conservative people, we need to watch. We need to be careful. We need to keep an eye on what happens in our state. We need to never give up the battle for what's right and defending the Constitution and watching out for our rights. It's so easy, Kevin, to look at some of the legislation that gets drafted and say, we need to do this for the safety of the people, or we need to do this because of this one specific incident that happened one time somewhere in our state. So now we need a law. And, how many laws does it really take? You were talking about the fireworks and, common sense. If you live next to a grain field that's starting to ripen, why would you ever in the world want to set off fireworks that leaves the ground? If you live next to a forest and it's dry and the grass in the forest are starting to turn dry, or on the mountainside or something like that, why would you ever want to set off a firework that's going to leave the ground that you have no control over it? And we need to use that same mentality when we make and write law. We don't need a law for every little thing that happens. We just need to be responsible individuals. And I think that's the focus of where we need to be. I think personal responsibility and accountability is huge. Sure,
I'm with you, but the challenge is, and look, this is maybe a little too inside baseball, but look, it's that time of the year here on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Representative Christy Zito with us, Kevin Miller in the morning, where you have, and you're on social media, you got these folks called the IdahoConservatives.com. I was reading one of their stories, and it seemed to mention every listener on this program, whether it's our friend Greg Pruitt or Tom Munns or others, there seems to be this inter-party competition. And ma'am, you see this during the session where, and Greg has been an advocate of this for years. You both have, for fighting to get the gun stuff through. It should have been a no-brainer, but you have people that are part of, for lack of a better term, let's say the establishment, that keep these bills from getting a hearing. You've got Representative Scott very frustrated because she didn't get a bill. Representative Giddings was trying to repeal the grocery tax. You've had to fight for these things.
There's no question, Kevin, it is a fight. And, I think that a good point for this is that it's important to remember. Now, there were a couple of things that happened in the legislature this year that citizens had a huge impact on because they came to the Capitol every day and they worked hard every day to influence legislators and to let them know what they wanted. And I think that's something, Kevin, that we need to stress is, I can be there and Representative Scott can be there, but let's use the Second Amendment Alliance for an example. The political pressure that they put on legislators, and they don't just talk, they walk the walk. They say, this is what we want for gun legislation. If you're not going to give us a hearing or if you're not going to vote for it, we want our Second Amendment right. It's a constitutionally guaranteed right. And if you're not going to allow that to happen, then you will feel the results of that at the polls. And we need to be activists, and we cannot discount citizen involvement in this. Just like the rule review thing that we're going through right now, there are a lot of petitions going out. I think if people will be involved, there will be a hearing, and there could be a hearing in every county in our state on some of these rules. It's hard to go through all 8,400 pages, so
Sure.
Some of the most egregious have been picked out and petitions circulated. I know here in Elmore County we submitted petitions for 3 different hearings. We've had enough signatures for it. But now people need to show up. We've signed the petition. We've got the ball rolling. Now when the hearings come to our county, show up. You've got to show up and let the agencies know what you're thinking and why you're unhappy with this, and that government should be bottom up and that those agencies should listen. And that though is part of the problem with the agencies is they're not accountable to the people. They're accountable to the executive branch. But that being said, people need to be involved and have their voice heard.
Indeed. Now you have the governor sending out a release getting some national attention recently that he's cut regulations by 40%. Isn't that a good start?
Well, I think a lot of, I didn't get to review all of them, but other people I've spoken with as well, a lot of the things that were cut probably didn't apply anymore. They were outdated. Maybe the agency wasn't even there. I don't know that really, I'm not saying it was a bad thing because it reduced the paper and it reduced what needed to be gone through. But we really need to take a really hard look at those things that have an impact in people's lives every day. There was a book written that said that when a person walks out the door, they could commit a felony every day and not even know it. And that's not the proper role of government. That's not why it's there.
Representative Zito with us, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. You had a Liberty conference. Were you invited to that? I'm sure you were before the Republican conference. Any big news out of that?
The Thursday night event, my daughter was here from Colorado, so I stayed and visited with her. I only get to see her about once a year, her and her husband and her 2 sons, so I didn't make it to the event the night before.
Well, how dare you having a life? That's good to hear.
Well, I only get to see her probably once a year, so I'm going to take advantage of that.
No, definitely. Back to Chairman Labrador. What will he bring to the table? Obviously, you can't question his conservative credentials. Very popular, but, you talk to him, and you've talked to him after the election. He blamed the state party. He blamed the other candidates, now the governor, for lying about his record. How does he bring people together, and how does he strengthen the Republicans in the state of Idaho, in your opinion, as an elected official, as a precinct person, as someone who is in the arena, ma'am?
he's just going to have to reach out to them and, open the discussion. And sometimes, Kevin, there will be bridges that just, or gaps that just can't be bridged. There will always be that. But I think that he brings an air of conservatism that we want to preserve in our state. I think that his experience in Washington, D.C., and his experience running for office and stuff, I think that will help him. I think it gives him some credibility as far as the runs that he's made in the past, his run for governor and stuff like that. I'm not sure what strategy he'll use. I haven't talked to him about that, so I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. I think he'll be a strong leader, though. I think he'll be good for the party. I think he'll stand for what most Idahoans believe to be the direction that we want to go. It's interesting if you really think about the precinct process. It really is a true form of bottom-up government, because you have your precincts where you go and vote, and then those precincts they elect someone to represent them, and then they go to the county and be active and involved in the county Republican Party. The Democrats do the same. Any political party can do it. But this is how your voice is really heard if you're engaged and active and stuff like that. And I think that this will give Raul an opportunity to really champion the voice of the people, because the party system and the way it's set up with the precinct system and stuff really is bottom-up government. It's government from the people. It's the voice of the people. The Republican Party platform is the voice of, or should be the voice of, Republicans in the state, and lawmakers should listen to that. And I think that he has a real opportunity with his knowledge and experience and his visibility in the state and how well he's known across the state and stuff to really push that conservative agenda.
He's very different from the last several incarnations of the party chairman, who a few of them, well, actually just one, former Chairman Yates, viewed it as a launching pattern. So it would be nice that we'd have some stability in that position for quite some time.
Well, and, seriously, that's what I see in him. Right. I see him as a more stable force because he's been involved in Idaho politics for a long, long time. He's been a precinct committee person. He started at the bottom and he worked his way up, not to the top, I guess you would call the governor the top position, but a run for that top position. And he filled probably almost every position that a citizen can fill in the party. So he knows what the system is, and he knows how the party works. And I see stability in him. I feel a calm in his presence when he's there, and I really honestly believe it'll be good for the party.
Indeed. Hopefully we can work on getting that grocery tax repealed next session.
I sure hope so, Kevin. The governor, when he took office, he said, well, not this year, but we will repeal the grocery tax. Let's stop talking about it and let's get it done. It's time. It serves no purpose. It's frustrating to me that the tax is gathered and then it's doled back out. Every time we gather money and then put it back out, there's always administrative costs and everything else, and it just makes absolutely no sense at all. So I'm with you. Let's get that grocery tax repealed.
Well, we've got your back on that. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, I just want you to know that I appreciate you. I appreciate the phone calls and emails that I get from people expressing their concerns. I appreciate the support that we've gotten, like on the rule review, people taking time to sign the petitions. And then I'm just asking you if there is a hearing in your county, show up and voice your opinion and let the agencies know why you don't like these rules and the impact that they have in your life, and the fact that, you do have a voice and you will exercise it. So citizen involvement is so important, Kevin. It's our government. It's not a government that's supposed to provide for us, take care of us, chastise us. We are the government, and I think it's important for people to remember that and participate that way.
We could go on, but we need to do this more often, ma'am.
You just let me know, Kevin, anytime. I'm at your disposal, your service.
Thank you, and my best to your family. Have a happy and safe 4th.
Thank you, Kevin. You as well. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Representative Christy Zitto joining us. We'll get your thoughts next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
It was billed as a meet and greet conversation for area youth to hear from mayoral candidate Dwight Boykins.
Initially, we were really excited because we didn't know much about this mayoral candidate.
But these teens and their parents say the youth leadership summit they attended Friday night went south very quickly.
He was telling us we should keep our legs closed, that we shouldn't taint ourselves, and in a way saying that we should stay pure because otherwise in the future, other men won't want us.
They tell ABC 13 Boykins grabbed a teen from the audience to demonstrate a relationship.
He made a young man stand up, and he was holding another girl side by side, and he was like, if me and her were to do something, that young man wouldn't want you in the future. And that really shows that he is invalidating young girls and not putting a good message across to the youth of America.
I was actually sitting like right across from her, so I could see her expression perfectly, and I just saw her looking at everyone else and sort of mouthing, I want to leave.
There we have it. More on that in a minute. Good morning. Kevin Miller, waking up on the right side. So here you have Dwight Boykins, a mayoral candidate in Houston, Texas, telling people just say no to the drugs. Nope. Say no to premarital sex. That's what he's saying. Do not be used. Do not be objectified. And again, our society continues to, I guess, for lack of a better term, we'll call it evolving, where you have these teenagers saying, this guy's an idiot. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, when he's saying the choice is yours. Value yourself, young ladies. Just say no to the pressure. More on that in a minute. Traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Hello, Dave.
The two groups who organized this conversation released a statement today that says, in part, to our great concern and disappointment, Boykins diverged from the program purpose and instead made statements and engaged in conduct that was wholly unacceptable.
Unacceptable. He's trying to help these young ladies. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Max in Garden City joins us now. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, my good friend.
How are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm listening to this mayor talking about just saying no to sex. But you know what? He's got a point. Name one good thing that ever came from shacking up. And that's what it is. It's a term that they may find offensive, but people all over this country are shacking up. People older than me are doing it, and I can't understand this.
Well, you know, here's what they're doing. They're on these apps, and they go out and they hook up, and in my day, we used to call that living in sin.
Yeah, well, you know, living in sin, shacking up, these are terms that we need to keep using because they're appropriate terms. If you're not married, I knew a couple that had been shacking up for about 20 years. And when it finally broke up, which of course it was bound to, good Lord, it makes it really ugly in the courts. In some states, there are some states, if you're shacked up more than a year or 6 months, you're considered common law marriage. But in other states, you're not. And I feel so sorry for children born from a couple shacking up. It doesn't make their life any easier.
Here's a sign of the times. Now, you tell me whether you and I are out of sync. You have people that have the children, and then they get them married. Those are the good ones. They get married. It used to be you get married, and then you have the kids. Now that seems antiquated.
Yeah, I see a lot of fine young people in the church who are waiting, taking their turn, getting married, having children, living good, productive, and rewarding lives. They're not just saying, hey, this is pretty good. Let's go bounce around a bit. Let's have a good time. It's the concept of right and wrong. Or like, do you want to be like Ocasio-Cortez? Do you want to be totally out of touch with the world? People, do you want to be like liberal Steve, completely out of touch with the reality? Think about it. What good ever came from shacking up? You hear the word shack up. Shack, I'm saying an offensive word, and that's good. Don't shack. That's all, buddy. Keep up the good work. And, you know, back where in China, I keep referring because I've been there so long. But if you're shacking up, you really keep that on the down low. We have no idea who's doing it because it is such a shameful act. The same in Japan. The same in Korea. We could take a page out of their books. That's all.
Shame, shame, know your name. Thank you, Max.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Let's find out what's happening right now. Good morning, Maggie. And, really appreciate Greg Jarrett filling in for Sean this week. Man, huge show yesterday. Talking about the Mueller report, Greg Jarrett's new book. And recently, well, not really recently, I had a chance to be on with Greg Jarrett when he was still always on Fox News. A lawyer, and he has an affinity for the state of North Carolina. Just kind of something I knew about him from our years of going back and forth. Do you love America? That's a big question, considering when you have an elected congresswoman should be espousing the ideals of how great America is simply lying about America. That would be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who went to the border recently. Right? She went to the border and she looked at the detention centers and decided to start tweeting things. The problem was she started tweeting things that were inaccurate. She started tweeting things that were lies.
This all started with this statement from AOC and her corresponding tweet storm following a tour of border facilities by Democratic politicians.
These women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet. And that was them knowing a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior.
One of the New York Congresswoman's tweets stating in part, quote, "This has been horrifying so far. It is hard to underestimate the enormity of the problem. We're talking systemic cruelty with a dehumanizing culture that treats them like animals."
Right. Of course, it's not true. And here's a story from Gallup. America pride hits new low. Few proud of the political system. According to a new Gallup poll on KIDO Talk Radio, 45% are extremely proud the second straight year of sub 50% readings. 22% of Democrats are extremely proud, down 10 points in a year. So members of the Democratic, Progressive, Socialist, Liberal Party, only 22% are proud of this great nation. Americans are most proud of what? Our scientific success, military, least proud, politics. Well, think about that. While 70% of U.S. adults overall say they are proud to be Americans, this includes fewer than half, 45%, who are extremely proud, marking the second consecutive year that this reading is below the majority. Democrats. Are you shocked at this one? Democrats continue to lag far behind Republicans in expressing extreme pride in America. Ram, if I could get a request, maybe next hour, if we could have that proud to be an American. We don't have to put any clips in it. Maybe you have it from the years past, but I love that song. Proud to be an American. I know you're proud to be an American. You look at the cities and, you go back to the city of Boise that put up the rainbow flags. I would hope that the city of Boise would show their patriotism like every other city in the Treasure Valley, every other city in Idaho, and put up the American flag and leave it up there for the entire month, which they did for the Prides. If you can do it for the Prides, you can do it for the Americans because you live in America. You are an American. There is no reason not to be proud of the United States of America. Now, coming up the next few days, we're going to have some very important patriotic programming. It's going to highlight this. Is anybody shocked that the Democrats do not like America? There I said it. The crazy, wacky, zany, progressive libs do not like America. Does this young lady sound like she loves America?
These women were being told by CBP officers to drink out of the toilet. They were drinking water out of the toilet. And that was them knowing a congressional visit was coming. This is CBP on their best behavior, telling people to drink out of the toilet.
There you have it, the new spokesperson for the Democratic Party eclipsing the lovable socialist, Bernie Sanders. They weren't drinking out of a toilet. They've got those self-contained units that's a toilet and a sink, like they have in the prisons. And here we have, and look, We could call this ageism, where we smack her for being not all there, not knowing the facts of the story. But there are many people in their early 20s, in their late teens, that are leading combat units doing extreme complicated missions in the military. So we can't say she's just young and stupid. We're not calling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez young and stupid. We're not going to say that. Misinformed? Perhaps. Not knowing the facts? Yes, but we're not going to blame her age for that. And then we have the border tension simmering. Well, who's stirring them up?
They should be given water. They should be given basic access to human rights.
Sure. Did she bring any water or any human rights? Or did she just go down there to make a political statement? Right? I'm sure she's not down there at the 4th of July with the illegals. By the way, U.S. Border Chief Brian Hastings had this to say.
We have to be able to hold longer than 20 days, quite frankly, in order to work them through the proper system. We need additional judges and additional CIS individuals helping work through the cycle as well. But if you don't apply a consequence, the flow will never stop.
Right. In other words, you can't put them up at the Holiday Inn Express. Again, Brian Hastings on KIDO Talk Radio.
We don't treat people that way. We provide fresh water. We provide food. We provide sanitary items, as well as items for bathing and personal hygiene. Right.
So why is American pride, especially in the Democrats, at a new low? Well, because all they do is attack America. You have Kamala Harris talking about busing. Is busing relevant in Idaho? Is busing relevant in society today? We're relitigating busing because they can't stand that the economy is great. They can't stand that we have a great president. They can't stand it. In fact, it's amazing to me. And by the way, if you love America, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. What's amazing to me is the hatred and vitriol from people that don't understand us. We're going to have lots of 4th of July activities, parades, little kids waving the American flag and being proud of their country. And then you have the devious little libs that start telling people how bad America is. Well, America is not bad. You know what gets me? And I see this, and I don't really engage that much on social media. Sure, someone will call me a fatty. Really? That's creative. You're a fatty. Yeah, okay. And I can lose weight. I don't know if you can get rid of that Trump derangement syndrome. And we all live in our own enclaves, literally and physically, unless you're like our friend Garrett, who's in real estate, or Annie, who's in mortgages. And you don't live in an enclave because you're always networking, right? I was a friend of mine, Kurt, who's getting into real estate. He's networking. He doesn't live in an enclave, right? But most of us live in our enclaves of work, of church, of the gym, of whatever social experience, the neighborhood, if you will. We don't stray far from the enclave. So I'm sitting here talking to one of the young people that work here, and it's funny. Your career is at a certain point when you've gone from the youngest person in the building when you began to the oldest person in the building, right? And this young man came up to me and said, yeah, such and such doesn't like you. He owns 3 or 4 successful businesses downtown. And I said, really? Well, what did I ever do to this person? He said, he came into the building and stared at you and said, hey, that's the guy that likes Trump. And you don't like me because why? My breath stinks. I wear a 5X long sleeve T-shirt. You don't like me because I'm constantly looking for a kickball tournament, according to my wife. That's how I dress. How have I offended you by saying I love America? I think the president is doing a great job. Exactly. And their hatred is so overcoming that they want to tear down the very fabric of our great nation to get their point across. And it's fascinating. People on Twitter That's why I don't really mention my family that much on social media, because they start attacking them. And, people saying, oh, you're fake, you're lying, you're asinine. And really? Well, give me specifics. They can't. Just like AOC. Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how you been?
Oh, the heat makes the nervous system not work as well with the sleep apnea and the hemiplegic migraine. So I've been listening. I just haven't felt like calling in.
No, this is a tough time for us that have the sleep apnea, because the days are so long, it's so hot, and it's just tough to sleep, brother. I understand.
Yeah. And Liberal Steve called in, so I had to address two things, and I think I can tie it all together. Jordan Peterson, pretty well-known PhD professor, said everybody has a religion. It's what you do with your life. It's might not be what you go do for work, but what do you do in your downtime? That's your religion. So when I heard Liberal Steve going off about golden plates, come on, if you're going to slam on the Church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, or what their persecutors called the Mormons, get the story right. It was brass plates, not golden plates. Anyway, to make a long story short, AOC has a religion. Liberal Steve has a religion. They just don't want to tell you what it is, but they live it every day. And I don't know what that is. I don't know the guy that well. I don't spend enough time with him. But everybody has a religion. It's what you do. It's what you live for. Now, you might not say you believe in God. You might not, whatever. What you live for is your religion. That's all religion is. And they like to change words and change meaning, but if you go talk to a psychologist, that's what they will tell you. That's what I got, Kevin. And I got a question for you. You know what kind of sidearm Liberal Steve carries? Like a Smith & Wesson or a Glock or a
Last time I saw him, it was a 45 revolver, I think.
Was it a 1911?
I don't know. It was pretty big. And that was like 6 or 7 years ago. He had it on a shoulder holster.
Okay, so I got a little story. We're going to go over history, and I know because I'm related to this guy. Back in the day, when semi-autos first came out, if you were over in Europe and you said, I was going to go buy me a semi-automatic pistol, you wouldn't say that. You would say, I'm going to go buy me a Browning. Because Browning was known as the father of fully automatic fire and semi-automatic fire. And that's what a semi-automatic pistol was called. So if he's carrying a 45, he's carrying the round that a good little Mormon boy out of Utah designed and made. And you know how that Mormon boy, I know because I'm related to him and I've read his history, and he designed like 120 plus guns. And every gun we have since then has part of his design in it. He says he was inspired by God to make those designs that he made. So if Liberal Steve believes in liberalism and hates religion so bad, he should lay down his 45 because it was designed by a Mormon. That's what I got.
Thank you, Brian. God bless. Your call's next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Tom in Boise, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Thanks for the platform. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, brother.
As we get closer to the 4th of July, I want people just to realize that people don't have to come to the United States to have great living conditions. It's what you make it. I've been deployed to Turkey and South America and Korea, and all these places have resources. It's not just our resources, our wealth over here. We made it what it was or what it is right now. These people got to realize they just got to take the bull by the horns and take over their governments and make sure that they make it what it is. So case in point, look at North Korea versus South Korea. And I highly recommend people watch a movie called Chosin, Chosin. It's about the Chosin Reservoir and how our guys were severely outnumbered by the Chinese. And the Chinese just rolled them over. And these guys saved South America. And look at what it is today. You got Samsung down there. And the people made it what it is. We help out, but we're not supposed to rule over them. We assist others, and I believe in assisting allies. But at some point, people have to take control of their own country and use their resources to make it better, a better life for them. So I just wanted to recommend that movie because you'll see the sacrifices our guys have. Most of the people that are interviewing have no hands, no feet, because they were frozen off. And we give and we continue to give a lot to other countries so that they can make their own country a better place to live. So just any lib that wants to think that we have to bring in everybody over here and pay for everything, well, we paid a lot. Our guys in the past gave their hands and their feet literally to people around the country so that they can make a better life for themselves where they're at in their own country and be proud of their own country.
Tom, thank you for your service and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate it. Have a good morning.
You too. KINO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. The pride of New Meadows, Idaho, Tea Party Bob joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Great show again this morning, as usual. I'm not sure, is my friend Steve a member of the union, the Actors Union? Because he sure sounds like it.
He's something.
I'm not sure what he's all about. Since we're talking about shacking up and married persons living together and having intimate relations, I thought it might be a good time to bring up this agenda proposed by the National Education Association that has to do with showing films that deal with gender-neutral schools. Now, the Gem State has just put up a story on the agenda, and it's if you want to blame someone for the problems with sexual promiscuity in our nation today, you can place much of the blame on the school system and how they have brought sex education into our classrooms at earlier and earlier ages through the years. And the days of parents having to talk about the birds and the bees, which they have just kind of forgotten about doing anymore, appears to be something that has been regulated to our school system. The National Education Association is telling all of its members and affiliates to create a gender-inclusive schools. And what is that? Well, first you need to know that the term gender has been expanded. If you thought it was just to make just a male and female, then you're a troglodyte and you're just not hip. So educators have decided the gender identity is a learned behavior. So little girls act like little girls because their parents and society at large have cast them in that role. And the union wants to free the children from those societal assignments of gender behaviors. So, of course, your 5-year-old doesn't really understand sexuality. So the schools would have to, teach them about the difference between males, females, gays, lesbians, transsexuals, bisexuals, etc., so that the child can choose which gender they think they are. So this movement for gender fluidity will release the children and let their inner genders out. The Teachers Union, NEA, partnering with the Gender Spectrum, is providing guidance to educators to fully immerse our children as young as 3 years old and all through their high school in gender knowledge and gender creativity. What gender with today? No problem. You can change it tomorrow. You want to know why our kids grow up and have distorted views of sexuality? Take a good look at what they're teaching them in our schools, and you might find the answer. That's about all I have, my friend. I'm heading down the valley today.
You're coming back in, huh?
I have to go down there and get my truck fixed.
Maybe we'll see you.
You never know.
So you're not moving back here?
It doesn't look like it. It's pretty nice up here. I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know, living in a different world.
Till you come back home to your Treasure Valley home with the traffic, the weather, everything else.
Yeah, but it's only for a few hours, and that'll be gone.
Well,
back up now. It's nice to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there anymore.
Our best to you. We all live here. We didn't desert the ship.
Thank you, my friend. I'm sorry for desertion. It's called getting some peace and quiet for myself.
Fair enough.
Take care. I hope you have a great day.
And you, Tea Party Bob, Gem State Patriot. Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up next. Oh, you're going to love this one. How to celebrate the 4th of July. Plus, former Congressman Tom Tancredo on the border. Stay with us. God bless you.